not to teach you business related courses because you are already getting them in PGP.
So, sir, you obviously cannot reveal the questions details or interviews for the IPMAT selection process, but in your experience, what can you share about the interview process here at for the IPMAT entrance, or what types of candidates have you seen while interviewing?
See, interview time is around 15 minutes. So, in 15 minutes, we need to judge a candidate whether that candidate is suitable for IPM program or not suitable for IPM program. So, few things we keep in mind that first of all, the student has sound academic background in the sense that whatever he has learnt up to class 12th is very clear to him or her. He is sound in his subjects what he's been learned. For example, say at 12th level, if I ask him something about physics, something about chemistry or biology or mathematics, whatever studied, he should be or she should be sound at that level. Secondly, the communication skills should be at par. That he or she should be able to express fully to a nice extent. One should have calm and composure while answering. Third thing about the general awareness. So a candidate should be generally aware about what is happening around her. Say around her means in her city, in her village, in say state, nation, worldwide, in that order. Usually, when one prepares for the entrance exam, they try to prepare in a reverse order, in the sense that they will first know they will know about international affairs, but they don't know anything about their city. So, and this is in general for if you want to be say aware, you should be aware first about your surroundings. So, suppose you are you are an aware individual. So, first of all, you should know your name. This is the first level of awareness. Then you should know about your family. You should know about your family origins. Then you should know about your origins of your say village or mohalla, and you should know the problems your city is facing, your state is facing. Then you should talk about say what is the problem between Iran and Iraq and Israel and Palestine. So usually, this is a problem with every interview candidate, and those who realize that the actual awareness is in the reverse order, they can easily excel in any kind of interview. It's not just about IPM. If you take say interview for NDA, SSB, if you take UPSC interview, so if the awareness level is what is being taught, so because our curriculum is also focused, so they will first teach about national history, then nobody will teach you about state history. So you will rarely know about your family history. Okay, very few candidates. So if you know in the reverse order, you are say growing your awareness very organically. So if this organic awareness is there, it will apart from the general awareness, it will also instill confidence in you that who are you and where you are coming from. And if you know who are you and where you are coming from, you will know where you want to go and how you go. So you will say set your own path, and this will eventually develop a sort of an initiative quality, and which will reinforce your leadership qualities. And but if you are confused about who are you, what is your city, what is you don't know about things, you are just caring about international trends, Twitter trends and international standards, or all you are caring about say what movie is in trending, which singer is in trending, and not knowing about. I'm not saying anything bad in knowing that, but it should be awareness should be organic. So then, if you know who are you and where you're coming from, you will be. I'm confident that you will be very less distracted by several things which are called distractions at UG level and later in life, and you will definitely become an inspiration for others also in this way. So this general awareness, this is not a IPM interview particular point. This is a generic point I want to mention. And if you know all those things, and if you are organically aware, so I hope if you are sincere enough, you will be also sincere in studies. So if you want to have a one takeaway, that so one should be sincere and aware enough, and aware in a particular order. So if you are aware, you should be aware about your school. You should take part in every activity of the school, whether it is sports, whether it is academics, and you should perform equally well because you are being say sent to school for that purpose. And if you come to home, you should be aware about your family members, you should be aware about your relatives, and then city. So if your city has a new plan for building some highways and roads, you should be aware about that. Not just you should be taking few number crunching, okay, how many crores NHI is spending. Okay, you should be know how many dams are there, which river passes in your city. So if you organically aware your thing, then slowly all those qualities will develop, and you will later realize that the most difficult part in any entrance process that usually people talk is interview will become your most easiest part. You will enjoy the interview process. And why this is so? Because in my experience, say if you remember in your very junior classes, I don't know whether they are happening now. So along with a written test, there used to be an oral test. Okay. So in my school days, there was an oral test. Okay. And nowadays, at say college level, there are no oral tests. Okay. I had one chance to go to say see the Italian education system, and I was pleasantly surprised that at the PG level also they have an oral test. Okay. So I was wondering why the oral test is important, and when I was thinking along these lines, so this came the conclusion I had is that the oral test is an equivalent of an interview. Okay. So one very good line I heard recently 2-3 days, 4-5 days ago. I was discussing with some other professors regarding some internship proposal or some research proposal. So one of these senior professors commented that if you want to say invite proposals, okay, so you just don't just invite proposal, you ask them to make an oral presentation. So had a very startling point to say is that some people know how to write, some people know how to work, some people know how to speak, okay, but some people know how only to write. So the correct observation in a person is an oral presentation. Okay, I have one personal experience regarding this. So when the lockdown happened, and when the first part of lockdown happened, and we had shifted our classes to online mode, then there was one big question: how to take exams. Okay. And our institute is very worried about it, and they have say taken help of an outside software company. But initially, as an individual, I was hesitant in taking online exam. We are not used to it. I have not given any online exam in usual. So I decided for my first course, I'll take interviews for say one executive PGP course. So I've taken interviews, and so in that interview, my experience was that the person who has studied in that class, I can know in first 5 minutes of questioning. Because in interview we don't judge by what is your answer, but the first response to our question is very very crucial. Then what happens? Suppose I asked, so how do we take interview? So we ask you one question. Okay, so we start with very simple question. So after judging your first response, we will know how comfortable are you with that question, irrespective whether your question is totally correct or half correct. So if it is half correct, and if you are say thinking about it, answering it, so that intangible things you will not know very soon. We have an experience, and because we take several other things. So if you answer very swiftly, then we try to increase the level. If you answer that also swiftly, then we try to increase the level. So in that way, we will reach to a point where the level of our question will match the level of your answering, and that is the point we decide that this is your level. So in interview, what happens? We can say dynamically change the questions. In written, this cannot happen. And secondly, your first response is not recorded, and institute believes that we can judge your first response, so we do that, and so this process becomes a more robust, not just for IPM, even say for faculty appointments, for IPS appointments, for IAS appointments, for SSB interviews, for CAT interviews. So this is a very effective measure, and even for say every person who knows how to write does not know how to work, and some people only know how to work, they do not know how to write, particularly because everything is conducted in English at that level. So this creates a differentiator, and orally you can judge a person very say nicely, rather than say talking to that person in letters. So only in that, if so, there is no specific tip that for interview do this, do that, do that. So for interview there is no preparation required. Okay? If you are thinking that I'll prepare for the interview, then don't prepare for the interview. Okay? You are already prepared for the interview till now. So you cannot change your inbuilt personality traits, or cannot fake your inbuilt personality traits to an expert panel. Somebody feel that you are very smart, and you can do this. So I congratulate them, and advance congratulations to them if you can do that. But for a sincere person, do not try to fake yourself. And if you want to prepare for the interview, you are already preparing for the interview. It was ought to be brief, but I answered in detail.
I think it will help our audience in determining, because I think for many people, interview is considered to be a very difficult part of any selection process, and they fear that they have to do this and they have to do that, and this GK and all. So it becomes very jarring for people to prepare for it. But even I believe so that in interview you have an opportunity to present yourself as you want to the panel. So it's like a blank canvas, and you can present yourself however you want. So if you will be afraid of the interview, and so any expert panel, as you say, they will see that fear. You cannot fake it. So I think in that sense, the preparing for interview, I think it should be limited to knowing your subject matter well. So as you said that even for the curriculum, even for exams, instead of having a written exam, if an interview. So I think the preparation should be limited to how much do you know your subject matters that the panel might ask, or maybe like some general knowledge that you might have around your awareness. Basically, first know your name and then.
So don't consciously prepare for the interview. You are already preparing for the interview.
Prepared for the interview.
You are already prepared for the interview. You are already preparing for the interview.
Also, sir, okay, so moving on from this interview process, I would like to ask you, what are your views about this current rise in the online MBA programs that we have seen now? So many platforms are, even like Coursera or edX or even like Upgrad, they are offering online MBA programs. So what are your views regarding these?
Okay, my views are not different from the experience people had in this lockdown online, and especially those are the potential audience for this interview. They sat for online exams, I think, and they had their online say classes of 11th class, 12th class, and I hope I don't need to answer this. They know what is the experience of an online teaching, online exam. So just to be redundant, online interactions cannot match offline interactions, and this is evident. Instead of say meeting your mother, if you have a daily video call, you will feel the difference. If you want to meet your friend, instead of meeting him in person, if you want to meet daily online for a meeting, you will meet the difference. I think same and more holds for online classes, because it is more intensive things, because you are intended here to learn something. So definitely, and second, the advantage of online is that when nobody can meet anyone, this is the only way to go forward. So if people want to learn something new and they don't have something in hand, so yes, online is a good alternative. But you have specifically asked me a question that vis-a-vis online versus offline. So I think everybody knows the answer. So I just repeated the obvious.
Yes. Also, so like even in the offline, I think the most important part of learning is not just what we are being taught by the instructor, but I think the peer learning is forms like a very huge part of the learning. That's why IIM Indore, emphasized even in a bachelor's program for a residential program. Even for the people living here in Indore itself, they are compulsorily required to be here at the campus because most of the learning happens outside the classroom. And even we have experience. So when we were at homes for the first year, and when we came, and even in my personal experience, when I was at home for the entire first year, and when I came at campus, I learned so much things, and by just interacting with so many people. So I realized a lot of the holes that were there in my learning for the first year, and I realized how stupid those mistakes were. So I think that part is actually where online just is not comparable to offline, the peer learning aspect.
Yeah, it is not an alternative to offline, definitely, but it is a good stopgap arrangement instead of having nothing. So you should judge in that metric, in that perspective. Secondly, apart from peer learning, extremely useful thing. Not just peer learning, you have to have peer network, and particularly in a course like MBA, where marketing, management, all these things are there. So your network or peer network is extremely useful. When you grow later in life and you go into jobs, you will have, if you don't have personal bonding with your batchmates, good bonding with your batchmates, then it is not good for the personal life as well as it is not good for the professional life also. If you have personal bonding, you can do several things, say like, it's like chemistry. It's not a sum of parts. A sum of parts can be something more than some new things can come up. Few friends can come up, they can make a good startup, they can make a good group in professional and in personal life. Yeah, a friendship cannot be, say, valued in the terms of how much revenue they have generated. That pleasures cannot be mentioned. So in offline on online mode, see in the interactions are less, so the bonding between the teacher and the student never forms, because once the class is ended, I click the end button and everyone vanishes from the screen. But in the, say, offline mode, when I finishes the class, few students come to me, few students go talk to each other. So they develop an understanding, bonding, they know what are the likings, dislikings, and this is an intangible, valuable thing that you can never form when you are aloof. So within themselves as well as the teachers. And secondly, from the teacher's perspective or from the, say, classroom learning perspective, yes, keeping that very extremely important thing in mind, that the learning, most of the learnings is taken outside the classroom, but within the classroom also, when from the perspective of a instructor, I can, so what happened to me during the the online mode in IPM. So after, say, one or two courses, I realized, not in after one or two courses, within the one or two courses, I realized that I am going faster than I used to go in offline class. And then I gave a thought and found out that this is due to, because I am not able to judge by the non-verbal expression student give when I am lecturing, and then by their facial expressions I adjust my pace. So that slows me a bit, and that is actually helpful for learning, because if I am not slow, it's not going. It's not so classroom teaching is not a presentation of my ability. So I can teach to, say, blackboard and be very good, but the end objective is that students are getting. So if they are not responding, if they are not able to judge by their facial expressions, most of the students do keep their video off even after, say, multiple requests. But even a few students who are, say, keeping their video on, even for them, if you compare the offline interaction, so it is very much useful from the instructor point of view, so that I adjust pace, and the classroom learning also enhances, apart from the peer learning thing you have already mentioned, and that is the most important thing.
So yes, the online part, the peer learning part, and the facial expression basically, because for an instructor it's hard to judge like how the class is responding, because there are no cues. So you won't know how the class is taking in the material that you are teaching. And like, this whole talk reminds me of an episode from Doraemon. So basically, in an episode, Sunio. So are you like familiar with Doraemon?
I heard just Doraemon.
Okay, so basically there is a character. So he says that I see a future where we won't have to go physically to the classroom, and there will be like this device where the teacher will be able to see us, and we'll be able to see the teacher, and we'll never need to leave our couch itself. And I think the flaw with the vision was made clear during the past year, when we were just longing to go back to the classroom, because even we didn't enjoy learning the things as much as we did before. So I think that is a big part of it. So also, like, I would like to ask, because as you mentioned that when people come together here at campus, they make, the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts itself. So what are the few success stories that you have seen for the IPM students during your tenure here at IIM Indore?
Success stories in the sense, when should I mention specific metric?
Like
or
specific some, so like there was this thing, Professor Ajit told us, he did this research work with someone from 2016 batch. I think it was Miss Aishwarya, and that research paper actually got published in the economic survey of 2019-2020. So something like this, research papers of IIM students being published in such reputed journals or something like that.
In 2016 batch there was a student Harshvardhan. So he worked with Professor Pritam and he published some papers. And yes, there were several students, and one of my anecdote is that I was also surprised that my stochastic calculus course was subscribed and was in demand. And this was the course which is usually found in the later part of an advanced PG course in Indian universities. And so they are able to take this amount of rigor, and this was pleasantly surprising to me that students are able to take courses like stochastic calculus, and even more surprising that they are demanding more. So I had one follow-up course called stochastic calculus too. So as a batch, I think this was a pleasantly surprising thing. And if you are able to learn this amount of thing, not just my course, there are several other good courses also. I'm only mentioning my personal experience. So yes, this is one success, that here student can take some rigor, serious rigor.
Also, sir, like, I would like to ask you, why did you choose to teach at an IIM over an IIT?
Okay, first of all, I got my first job here, so this is the simple answer. So yes, so I got the first job here, so I came here, and after coming here, so I never felt that that this system has something missing, and I'm missing something. Only thing is that here very rigorous mathematics students I don't get, but that is compensated by the electives I float here, and there are every system has its pros and cons, so I weighed those things. So that's why I'm here. So no specific choice and no comparison of IIM versus IIT. It's a matter of chance and my choice. That's it.
Also, sir, we would like to ask you, so you, like, as you mentioned that what are the good things and the rigor and the class one knowledge that we get here at IIM, but obviously there are only so many people at a time who can be here. So other than IIMs or IIM Indore or other IIMs, other than the IPM program, what else would you suggest our audience for a good alternative to it for an undergraduate level?
IITs and IIMs, apart from them, there are new universities that are coming up, and very strong alternatives I don't remember, but there are various courses in design and in law. So the law is a traditional thing, design. So very concrete, and at this level of pitching, I don't can recall apart from IIM and IIT and medical. Can't recall very strong alternative that is coming at the national level scene that can be an alternative. Even say IPM is not an alternative to IIT
The
because
IITs.
precisely because of the scale IIT intake. So how much intake we have? 150. Okay, if you count say other IIMs also
600.
less than 1,000. Okay, let's say for this less than 1,000 UG students. How many UG students appear for 12th?
I think
25 lakhs.
45 lakhs.
45 lakhs. So out of 45 lakhs is 1,000. So is not an alternative. So and good alternative can only come if say governments, parents, and all the stakeholders take education system seriously and demand some serious quality checks at the university level, because only at the university level that can cater the masses. And if say 40,000 students were applying for IPM program competing for 150 seats, that is a very niche thing to do. That is not a mass thing. Even I think JE main is being written by 15 lakh students. I hope 10 to 15 lakh students, and then they compete for I think 60-70,000 seats. 10,000 in IIT, 10-12,000 in IIT, and rest of them in NITs and other prestigious engineering colleges. 15 lakh competing for less than 60,000, 1 lakh seats. And where does the other 14 lakh will go? 14 lakh PCM students. 14 lakh PCM. Where does the other PCM students will go? So if you are talking an alternative at national level, it is extremely difficult to say. Yes, there are few universities, but they take 60, they take 40, and they are so at nascent stage. And because management isn't say after engineering people do management, after BA people do management, after MCom people do management. So it is already an alternative. Already it was an alternative earlier. Only thing is that a very unique program is designed at the UG level and it pitched at a very nice stage or pitched at excellent level. So that's why we are calling a sort of an alternative to those minds who often think that if a PCM student is not doing engineering, what else to do? If a biology student, if an art student do they have say right to get admission in a premier college? Do they have only alternatives for universities or so? In that sense, if you're talking in the larger scenario, sadly our country can't cater in the higher education at this scale.
So I think yes, there is a need to streamline because 45 lakh. So as you mentioned that there are 10-15 lakh people appearing for JEE mains, but less than 60,000. So even many of them just have no other choice but to shift their career to other streams. So maybe like management, or maybe some of them even go into arts colleges or designing colleges or something like that, because simply because they don't have any options.
No seats. Yes.
No seats. Also, sir, so wrapping this interview up, so what is the one piece of advice that you would like to give the aspirants that they should keep in mind while preparing, not just for IPMAT, but for anything that they might be preparing for? What is the one piece of advice would you like to give to them?
So be sincere and be aware. In that order. Okay, first, be sincere with yourself. I'm not saying sincere in academics. Sincere in academics is the primary responsibility of students. So that is you have ought to do, but be sincere at every level and at every role that you are expected to, and be aware. And this is becomes extremely important in today's generation, which I usually abbreviate as OTT generation. So they are quite deeply entrenched in the screens. The screen time is high, and when their public interactions and one-to-one interactions are becoming low, so you need to be aware, and aware in the particular order which I have already mentioned. So usually when I see, so there is one anecdote I have, which I was in a family function. We are having one lunch. So there was a little girl of 6th standard. I was amazed that she was aware of terms like fat shaming, LGBT, and when I asked about some other things, local things, that what are the things here in Indore, she it is not expected to have a sixth standard girl having idea, but she was aware about all international trends, and she was least interested, to say the least, in knowing the things around her. I'm not blaming the second part or not, but I'm quite amused, surprised. So that awareness, I'm not criticizing that awareness. You should be aware of all the programs, all the things, but in an organic order. And so be sincere and be aware. This is one piece of advice. Everyone can follow. Life is not about, say, getting a job or getting a successful career. Okay? At the level at which our country is at this point we have. There was a time around 20-25 years ago when my parents used to tell that it is extremely difficult to get a job. And I have seen some old Amitabh Bachchan movies. There were some anecdotes that the lead actor was saying that कि ऑफिसों के चक्कर काटते काटते चप्पलें घिस जाती है. Okay, you may or may not be aware of this, but I remember this line. So this was the feeling, say around 90s. Nowadays, इतना struggle नहीं करना पड़ता. If you want to say I'm not talking only about, say, people who are dealing are trying to get into Premier Institute, even general public. So they can easily get, say, satisfy their basic requirements. So, and if they are hardworking and sincere enough, they will eventually grow. So at present, the opportunities in the country is, I believe, such that if you want to grow, you can grow. And it's not that, the exceptions are if you are overtly lazy and, say, fate dependent person, then it's a different thing. But if you are very hardworking, no matter what college you take your admission in, no matter how many failures you had in your life, in the initial, in the middle, or the later stage, if you are sincere and you work hard enough, you will eventually go into a good place. Yeah, I'm confident about at this point, and I believe the opportunities will increase. So the focus of the youth should not be totally to get a job or a good salary. Now the earlier challenge was, if you remember some old movie, Roti, Kapda aur Makan. Okay, so the challenge of Roti, Kapda aur Makan is not very eminent now. So now the new challenge has emerging is that to keep one's mental state at peace. So after, and I hope everyone will get eventually, say, a good house, a good vehicle, a good salary, a good family, and a healthy body. After that, a new challenge that is emerging is to keep your mental state, is to keep your thoughts very calm and keep yourself very calm and composed, not to be, say, perturbed by the disturbances that are occurring, and to a very old person that are, say, useless disturbances. So very old school people do not believe that there is a problem called mental health and so on. Yeah, so for them, mental health was not an issue. If you talk to your grandparents, they will say, what rubbish you are talking about? There is no mental health. Because for them, it was not an issue. Because that was already covered when they are living in a joint family. All the mental health things, they are already taken care of without even telling you. Okay, so for every generation there is a challenge. Okay? There is no generation in the history of humankind that there is no challenge. Only thing we should realize that our challenge is slowly changing and is changing, and it will change as the country will progress. So one should not be, say, taken away by the storm of technology, OTT, and the new thoughts that are coming. if you have strong roots, you will go taller and higher and deeper.
Very well said, sir. And I don't have anything to add to this. So, thank you for watching, everyone. This was Professor Aditya Maheshwari with us. And if you study hard enough and have the fortune of getting here into IIM Indore, then you will have the chance to be taught by him the courses that he teaches among probability and numerical analysis. So, thank you for watching, everyone.
So can I add one thing? So
Yes.
I just want to correct. Don't just add this word fortune. Okay,
Okay.
those who are here, they are not fortunate. Those who will not be here, they are not unfortunate. All of you are fortunate that we are living on this earth and they are living in a great country called India. Yes, somebody will come and say somebody who is not able to make to IIM, they will also make great. It's not that so your first or the initial end successes describe your whole personality. So if you get a chance to hear, so there are limited seats. All of you are capable. If you're interested, all of you are capable. I don't think that the 40,000 students who apply or 20,000 students, we can pick someone and we cannot pick someone. We have limitations of seats and all that. So sorry, but don't try to use these kind of words. Everyone is fortunate, and there are few success stories where initially people had initially faced their in life, and there are many stories to tell. But yes, if you get a chance here, he will meet us. So sorry to correct you, but
It's okay, sir. It's good to be corrected by. Okay. Thank you for watching, everyone.